This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Welcome to Icons and Circles. This is Consul Annette Ablan. For the past few shows, I have been featuring excellence in Filipino craftsmanship. But today, I have a different topic, an unusual topic, and we will be talking about wine appreciation with our guest, Ms. Gail Sotelo, who is food and wine consultant, and she has her own blog.
Yes.
And I just met her recently, and we had a very lively and interesting conversation about wine and how you could pair it with food, and how to because we Filipinos are more of beer drinkers, the gin and but wine is relatively a new drink to us Filipinos, or to the Asians anyway. Okay, so thank you for joining us this evening.
And thank you for having me also.
All right, so Gail, tell us how you got involved in this wine appreciation, appreciating wine.
Right. I actually started off, it's a very funny story, when I was much younger.
This is high school days?
Or high school, actually.
Okay.
My mother was kind of getting worried with the fact that I was about to start dating. So she said in all her, in all her glory, that it's better to start learning about the feeling of alcohol at home,
Yes,
in the confines of your home, right?
Right.
And then she goes, yeah, so like I'd rather you learn about wine first, because if your date is buying you beer, that's probably not a good idea. So so it's something like that. And then my first wine
But she
ever,
loved wine too.
yes, it was
All
a
right.
Rioja. Right,
Okay.
it was a beautiful.
Spanish?
Yes, it was a Spanish wine, and then we had that, and that was nice. Fast forward to a few years later, I ended up working for hotels. I was at the Mandarin before, and my former boss started teaching me about wines and getting me to study about it. And so it started from there, and then I ended up doing wine marketing, getting my WSET certification.
What's a W
Yeah.
certification?
Yes. So it's a Wines and Spirits Education Trust. You can get it from the United Kingdom. So there's, I think, for the level 3, there's about 20 of us in the Philippines right now. I think about 25 of us in the Philippines right now.
Okay. So you go through a course.
Yes.
How long does it take?
Well, it's supposed to last for, I think, 60 hours in general,
All right. Yeah,
or in
spread
total
out,
rather.
huh?
Yeah.
And then you get to taste the
Yes.
different kinds of wine,
Yes.
distinguish the taste, the aroma.
Yes, the country of origin.
Yes.
So yeah, it's beautiful. It's a fantastic and difficult course as well, to be honest. But like it was fulfilling. It was very fulfilling.
All right. And when you do the tasting, how would you call it? Tasting,
Yeah.
right? Okay, but you'd have also some pairing with certain foods. Like I know, for example, me, I enjoy cheese and wine,
Yes.
right? And maybe like, early on, people would say white wine, you pair it with fish,
Yes.
or chicken, and then the red wines, you pair it also with
With red meats.
With meat, right? So what do you say about that?
That is the basic general rule for sure. If you want to go the classic route, of course. But I don't know. I'm a firm advocate with experimentation. Because at the end of the day, you know what, we find the best pairings in the most unlikely of places. Like one of my favorite pairings was a New World Pinot Noir. It was from Chile. And we paired it with lechon. It was
Oh.
beautiful. So it was unheard of at the time, but then, like, we started
White
off
with
like,
red meat
Yes.
or even meat.
yes.
Yeah,
so
but
it's-
but at the end of the day, we were saying, no, we were talking about this actually, that it's a matter of personal taste. Because you do have to acquire. Like me, I never learned or I never appreciated beer. But when it comes to wine, there are wines that that's what good for your palate, to your
Yes.
personal.
Yeah.
But the others, like, you know, it's.
Yeah.
But I know in my younger years, when we wanted to drink alcohol or that, we would tap on the mompo. That's
Yeah, the mompo.
That's the wine
Yeah.
of the
clergy,
priest,
yeah.
the clergy, right? And it was kind of on the sweet side.
Yes.
Which and because of the sugar content, and
Yeah.
it got you up there.
Yes.
Right. But
Up to the
eventually-
heavens.
Yeah. But it would give you a very bad headache the next
Yes,
day.
yes.
Okay. So maybe you could share with our viewers, you know, how more to appreciate, what to look for.
Okay.
And, of course, the price also matters a lot. You know, the bracket of
Yeah.
pricing.
Yeah.
And you get what you pay for.
Yes, absolutely. I normally try to shy away, and I'm using Filipino prices, no? Like if I go to a store, I try to avoid anything that's a little below 500 pesos, because normally if you think about it, there's a production process that goes through the wine. So if you go for anything that's below 500 pesos, you have to factor in the taxes. Also, you have to factor in the cost of the bottle per se, the cost of like how people, the labor from people getting the grapes from the vines to be able to put it in the bottle, the fermentation process, the
Yeah,
materials,
the
etc.,
shipping,
etc.
et cetera.
Yeah, so if you get something that's below 500 pesos, you would know that the craftsmanship of that particular bottle is not, completely artisanal. It's not completely, it wasn't. There wasn't much attention to detail as it was being made. So that's, I think, the thing that personally I'm shying away from. But
No, but we do have also the, like you said, the new world and the
Yes.
old world. And maybe we can also share this information with our viewers.
Right.
What do we mean when you have the old world wines
Okay.
and then the
new world.
The new world,
right?
yeah.
Because normally whenever we classify something that is old world, it's things from wines from France, from Italy, so places
From
from
Europe,
Yeah, in
from
general,
the
it's,
old world.
Yes, it's normally from that side of the world.
Yeah.
I always say there's like a subtext that there's also the ancient world wines. I remember the last time we had a conversation, we were talking about Georgian wines.
Yes.
So I always say
yes.
that's like from the ancient world because they still make it the way that they made it during the time of Jesus.
Right. Really? And
Yeah.
that was in clay pots?
Yeah, the ones in clay pots.
It's
amazing.
like how we do our vinegar up in Ilocos.
Yes, I think that's the photo. Yeah, so
all
yeah,
right,
that's
okay.
the ones at the bottom. Those are the Georgian clays. That's how they
Oh,
would still
alright.
bottle it. The new worlds are the ones from the Americas, from Chile, for example, Australia, New
Yeah.
Zealand is a really good place for white wine. So yeah,
Yeah, but I know that even Chile, I know that it was first introduced in the Philippines like more than 10 years ago. And they were cheap.
yes, they still are.
But,
A lot of them are.
Yeah, but eventually it improved a lot. In fact, it has earned several medals.
Yes.
Some of the
Yeah.
like Montes Alpha.
Yes, the Montes Alpha.
Yeah,
I think I have a photo that I gave you with regards to like my trip to Montes, because
okay.
I was sent there a couple of years ago by.
This is in South America.
Yes,
This is in Chile, right?
yes. One of my favorite projects that I've done for us, for the Philippines, is that in relation and as a tie-up with the Chilean government is to, the Montes, to be
Okay.
sent to Chile by the Chilean government. And when I was there, I was looking around at the different vineyards, and I realized that now because they have made such a wonderful name for themselves for making quality wines at affordable prices.
Yes.
Now they're moving on to looking at the premium wines. So if you're translating it to Philippine pesos, wines that are about 3,000 pesos up.
3,000, really?
Yeah,
It's
but
like
they're
a
good
Grand
stuff.
Cru, no?
It's kind of like a Grand Cru from France, yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. One of my favorites has been, let me see, there's this Carmine de Peyumo.
Okay.
from Concha Itoro, because one of the signature grapes of Chile is the Carmener. It's red, it's beautiful. It's a cross between let me see, like licorice. There's some wine evaluators would call it as a soy sauce touch to it, but I don't like to put it that way because it makes it a little it kind of does it the service, but it's really good wine. So Carmen de Payum is about, I think, 8,000 pesos in the Philippines. I think last time I checked, it's 100% Carmener, but it's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. No, but like the Europeans, for example, they drink wine, not water. So that's their water, right? And I'm sure they don't spend that much every time they have a meal.
Because it's cheaper as opposed to water in Italy.
Italy or maybe even France. But yeah, how do you, we have the table wine. You call that table wine. So it's like everyday fare.
Yes.
Okay. And in the Philippines, I guess the everyday fare is already like a treat to have wine with a meal. All right. So maybe as a start, what would you recommend for a start? Because you know what, the Filipinos would shy away from wine because it's mapakla.
Right.
Or maybe too dry, or it has that certain tangy taste to the tongue, to the palate.
Yeah, because normally I remember when I was still teaching in university, when you first introduce wines to our students, and at the time they were like 21, 19, 18, right? So the issue is when I start them off with proper wines from France, for example, the red wines, they're gonna shy away from that. But I'm a firm believer that that's the way to go, because my theory at least is that if you start them off with something too sweet, it'll spoil their palate, and they're never gonna want to explore like the beautiful Grand Crus of of Burgundy and Bordeaux. So I'd rather like they start off with the good stuff, like decent stuff at least.
Yeah,
so,
but then you explain to them why it tastes like that, right?
Yes.
So you're teaching mostly, I guess, HRM students, no?
From Benilde, yes.
Yeah, and okay, so how do they gradually go up the ladder then?
I think they appreciate the fact that there's so much explanation to how the wines are made. Like, for example, I'm a firm believer that one of the cheapest ways to travel is to have different wines from different parts of the world in front of you. The reason why I say that is that there's always a reflection of the culture, the smells of the place in that particular bottle. I always say, whenever I'm doing a blind evaluation, if I can't see the wine, I know immediately, like if it's from France, because it smells like France. I know that it's coming from Burgundy. It smells like Burgundy. So it's like that. There's
like
always an
what?
association.
You have that earthy scent or whatever.
Yeah.
What are the distinctions between, let's say, the French wines and the Italian and the Spanish wines?
Okay. So I notice in general, the old world ones, there's always like this grounded smell to it. There's always the smell of the earth, a distinct oaky smell to it. So there's a little bit, I always say that it's a little bit more masculine as opposed to anything else.
But this is more for the red wines.
Yeah, this is more for the red wines. And sometimes a little bit for the whites as well. You can smell, you can feel, you can sense the earth, the ground, even with the whites. There's always a beautiful roundedness to it. If you're talking about something that's New World, it's very fruit forward. That's how we say it. There's a lot of fruit that you're experiencing, whatever you're drinking that. The ones that are especially coming from the warmer climates for the New World wines, I always say that it's a very flamboyant person coming into the room. That's what it feels like.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you'll see people with their wine glass swirling it around, okay? And this would, you look at the color and the consistency, or how would you put it?
I guess the best way to be able to do wine evaluation is to do the 5 S's. So
okay,
see,
5 S's.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, the see, swirl, smell, sip, and sip if you have like 8 glasses of wine in front of you for that day. So you see it, you can see like the color, the older it is, the
Should be
darker it
darker.
is. Yeah, it should be
Okay.
darker. So stuff like that, and you have to make sure that the wine itself is not tainted. Sometimes, like, cork gets in there.
Yes, yeah.
If it's not decanted properly, you could see like sediments all over the wine. So those are the things that you could be able to see.
Which means it's spoiled or it's.
It can be spoiled,
okay.
but like honestly, the sedimentation is an indication of age. So
Okay.
so the more sediments it has, normally it's an older wine. It's been kept there for a little bit longer. So see, then you can swirl it so you can be able to see how it reacts to the glass, how it smells after, because like
Okay.
it's so much nicer after aerating.
Okay, so it's like a whole ritual.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So there, then so you smell and then you sip it. You let it coat your mouth. Let it speak to you through your mouth, and then after that, you can be able to spit it out because you have more glasses to consume. So,
Alright.
yeah. So,
Well, I know that when you're in the wine tasting or in a how they call it, exhibit of wines or
expos. Yeah.
expos, something like that. You know, they also spit it out.
Yeah.
They spit out the wine just for the taste.
Yeah.
And yeah, then they move on to the next one.
Yes.
But you you have different glasses for each wine because you don't want to contaminate or you don't want to mix the flavors,
Yeah,
right?
Because you have to be able to get the accurate smell of that particular glass that you're consuming for that moment.
Okay.
But yeah, like if you're in an expo, you're trying out. Like the last one I went to was Vin Expo early this year in Hong Kong, and
Yeah, they have that already in Hong Kong.
yeah,
right?
so
Okay.
there were at least like 600 exhibitors. So you can't.
From all over the world.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that if you try to consume like
Yeah.
all the wines in one booth,
Yeah.
to begin with, you're gone by the rest of the day. So you kind of need to be able to pace yourself and spit
Taste
it.
yourself,
Yeah.
And then if I'm not mistaken, you also have the bread
Yes.
cubes, just to clean your
Cleanser
palate.
palate,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so for the Filipino market, for the Filipino palate, okay, what would you recommend people to start with?
Okay. I think for
Not so
wines-
expensive.
Okay. So maybe like a New World Muscat. I would get them to try it because it's a little sweet, but it's not cloying either. I think cloying, if you try to translate it in our language, is nakakaumay. Yeah, so it's not
Okay.
like that. So it's cloying. You don't want that. So you want a New World Muscat would be nice. A little bit something about 600 pesos up. So that's really nice. If you want to go for the good wines already, Chardonnay is a nice pair for Asian food. In
Okay.
fact, if you go to Burgundy, because they're famous for two types of wines, so it's Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs.
Okay.
They have so many Japanese restaurants in Burgundy, and this is like the countryside of France, right?
Really?
Yes.
So you mean to say a lot of Japanese have gone there and have settled down
yeah,
in
and
that
they
part?
realize. I think the people from Burgundy realize that it's a beautiful pairing for Asian food in general, Japanese food especially, right? For
Really?
Chardonnays, yeah.
Yeah, because normally it's sake and sake and
Yeah,
sake,
yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. So it's so surprising when we were there, and then. Yeah, because Pinot Noir actually is beautiful with Filipino food. I don't know, it's of all the experiments we've done with food and wine pairing, it's always hit the mark. Last night we were having Zinfandels, so it was good with the roast. I'm planning to do one of these days because I try to pair the most unusual things with wine because I want speaking of advocacies, I want to be able to get wine accessible to people. It's not something that's that's too hard to reach. So that being said, I'm trying to do an experiment with Filipino street food and Zinfandel because I have a feeling it will work.
Okay.
So yeah. So
But Zinfandel is more on the white.
it's a red Zinfandel. So yeah.
Okay,
So
but there's a white
There's
too.
a white version which is
Alright.
actually pink. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah.
So with our street food,
Yeah.
so that how do you call it, kwek
Yes,
and all
yeah,
this,
the isaw, that'll be
isaw
great.
and everything. Okay.
Yeah, because it goes well with roast anyway. So yeah, I want to try that out.
Okay, and with our adobo, what would you pair it with?
I've done one of my friends makes this beautiful balsamic vinaigrette adobo. We've had it before, of all things, I think with a, let me see, with a right bank Bordeaux. So I think that was a Merlot. I think we had a Merlot with that. It
Okay.
actually went well. It was so surprising as well. So
No, because yeah, to drink with drink and then pair it while eating adobo,
Yeah,
right? But I know that there are some recipes wherein you can also use the wine and
Yes.
left over wine.
yeah, because
and
it's
then
quite sour already, so you can use it as a
like as
substitute
vinegar,
for, yeah.
like vinegar. So that gives it also a distinct taste when you use
Yes.
wine in your stewing and in your cooking,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
don't, would you say, don't throw away your wine? You can use it as a
You can use it for cooking.
cooking,
I
like
think
vinegar.
after, if it's around and it's been open for 5 days, you can use it for a sangria because you need to add sugar to it anyway. So, it actually
Okay.
works. So I've done it before. It actually worked. So,
Okay, yeah. So we'll be taking a short break, and Miss Gail has more to share with us, and you can talk also about your blog.
Yes, okay.
Okay, stay with us. We'll be back shortly.